can do a number of things when it comes to marriage. We can watch the insanity in Hollywood, jumping in and out of marriages, or we can listen to what God says. I think we should listen to what God says. And in no other passage in the Bible is marriage more highly elevated than in Malachi chapter 2. He says, I won't even listen to you because you're not keeping your marriage vows. You say, Pastor, this is an Old Testament principle. No, it's not. It's a God principle. If you go to 1 Peter chapter 3, Peter tells the men, honor your wives as the weaker partner. Something that is unheard of in the ancient world is to honor women when they used to subject women. The Bible tells them to honor them, lift them up, build them up, care for them, and respect them so that your prayers will not be hindered. Sometimes God's not gonna listen to you because you treat your wife like garbage. Marriage is not a moment, but a lifelong agreement. Ladies and young girls especially, listen. Before you fantasize about who you're gonna marry, and you fantasize about the big day, and you fantasize about your dad walking down the aisle and the dress you're gonna wear and the bridesmaid's dress and all that stuff that you've been dreaming about, whatever. And you think about all the things that guy's gonna do for your life and how he's gonna fulfill you, and the little hole in your heart is gonna be filled forever, and you're never gonna be lonely again, you're never gonna be sad again, you're never gonna be depressed again, because that guy is gonna be everything that you could ever imagine. Let me just tell you that that's just not true. And secondly, that the Bible never paints an emotional picture of marriage. It always paints just this very legal picture of marriage. Notice the terms. The Lord was witness. That's a legal term. Covenant. Agreements are what marriages are all about. So that when you come down to that altar, it doesn't matter how many people are in the audience, it doesn't matter where it is or how it got done. What matters is those words that came out of your mouth. We call them vows. You are agreeing to love them. I agree to love you. Your happiness is not at the top of God's priority list when it comes to marriage. I'm not very happy in my marriage. So what? Who told you I had to be happy all the time? Disney? Stop watching Frozen. What matters is that you made a decision, you made agreements, and God is witness before that. It's not about the pastor or who's there. It's about the fact that God is watching and he takes your marriage vows extraordinarily serious. Take the emotional component out of it. You say, that's not very romantic. I know. You'll never see this in a Jennifer Aniston movie. I get it. But you will find it in the Bible, and the Bible is a firm foundation. And then God says she is your companion. Do you know why I love that? Because here's God being the total parent. Companion in the Hebrew can also be translated friend. So God is saying your wife is your friend. Now, do friends fight? Yes. But friends make up. Do friends get into disagreements? Absolutely. But friends do something. They grow up, they make up, and then they move on. You know, I have kids, my wife and I, and every once in a while they'll tell us about their friends, and then we'll see that their friends don't come around for a while. And we'll say, well, why isn't your friend coming around? Why aren't you hanging out with so-and-so? And they'll say, well, we had an argument. My wife and I will be responsible parents, because here's what responsible parents do. Pay attention. We don't call the parent of the other kid. We don't fight our kids' battles. We tell our kid, grow up, make up, and move on. Because a good friend is hard to find. And here's what God is saying to the men of Israel. I don't care if you don't like her anymore. I don't care if you have arguments. I don't care if you have disagreements. Grow up, make up, make out, and move on. Like some people tell me, oh, we don't ever have an argument. What? You don't ever fight? Why not? Makeup sex is the best sex in marriage, man. Here's what it says in Genesis. And the two shall become one flesh. The most ignored Bible verse in marriage today. If you are married, you are in the process by which God makes you one. When you come to the altar, then you enter into the process by which you will morph into each other for the rest of your lives until death do you part. Your marriage is designed to change you. If the person that you're married to is bugging the life out of you because they keep telling you something that's wrong with you, can I just offer a suggestion? Instead of you getting mad about it, maybe you should listen to it. Maybe your wife or your husband is the only person in your life who sees that gaping hole in your character and is willing to take the shots necessary to confront you about it. And everybody else in your life knows it's true about you, but they're just too scared to tell you about it. But God bless your spouse, who you have been hammering and getting mad at for years about it, is the only one willing to tell you the truth. Because here's the problem with all of us. We think we're pretty good, but we don't see ourselves from the outside, and your spouse does. And so they're talking to you, and guys, because I think that this goes more women to men. They're always, they have no problem telling us what's wrong with us. But some of you guys got to be a little bit more honest now and be willing to take the shots and say, honey, there are some things that I kind of get upset about. And just be a man and sleep on the couch for a few nights if necessary. Better to be honest and fight than hold it in and harbor a grudge and grow bitter. Can I say this about me and Cheryl? We're totally different people than we were when we got married. And both of us are different, not because of you people, not because of this church, but because of each other. Who I am today is the result of Cheryl's hard work. This is why, singles, married people are more attractive to you, because somebody has already done the hard work. So it's absolutely disgusting that you chase after a married person, because that's robbing somebody not just of their love and their friend and their companion and breaking the covenant, it's also robbing them of all the hard work that went into that spouse. Find your own project and get busy. Here's what I see a lot of single people do, a lot of young couples do. They come to church before the marriage. And they come to church every single Sunday. Come to church every single Sunday because they want me to see them sitting in the pews so that when they ask me to marry them, I'll say yes. And then I marry them and then I never see them again. It's disgusting. You're using the church and you're making a fatal mistake for your marriage. I always hear 5 years down the road, they're having problems and they're getting divorced. Of course you are. You made the fatal mistake. You thought that you needed Jesus to get married. No, friend. You needed Jesus to get married. You also need Jesus to stay married. The most abused and inaccurate statistic you've ever heard is Christians get divorced just as often as non-Christians. Recent data has revealed just how faulty the findings were. Because they would ask some dude who had gotten divorced, what's your faith? And the guy who had not been to church in 30 years would say, well, I was raised Baptist, so I guess I'm a Christian. No, you're not a Christian. You think you are, but you're not. They did new studies, and the University of Connecticut did this study, that the key contributor to making a marriage last was couples who did 3 things. Went to church, prayed, and read their Bibles regularly. In other words, doing the things that Jesus actually tells us to do. Not to become a Christian, but as a Christian. They had a 38% divorce rate, whereas everybody else who didn't do those things, a 60% divorce rate. So if you find somebody who is a Christian and you marry them and you both commit to church and you both commit to prayer and you both commit to reading your Bibles and growing daily in the Lord, you have a far better shot than you think.